So, our session today is titled Creative Thought Works, Pioneering Change in Healthcare, which is a theme that we're really excited about. I'm going to ask our wonderful panelists to introduce themselves before we begin our moderated session, which will be recorded and available on the admissions website. Afterwards, we will move into breakout rooms where our panelists will be available for questions submitted through the chat feature. So with that, panelists, please share your name, graduation year, and your title. We will go alphabetically. So I guess we can start with Kasia.
Okay. Excuse me, everyone. I have a bit of a head cold, so I sound terrible, but I'm feeling okay. I apologize for that. My name is Kasia. I am from the Boston area. I graduated in 2019. I majored in neuroscience, if I recall. I did a couple years of basic science research at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, looking at cancer genomics and platinum-based therapy for prostate and bladder cancers. And then I matriculated into medical school, and I'm graduating actually in June. I go to UMass Medical School, and I've applied into OBGYN residency. And for medical school, the match process and like the first job you get is revealed at the end of March. So I'm really just kind of hanging out, waiting to see where I get my first doctor job. Thanks for having me.
So exciting. And back in the day, Cassie and I were tour guides together, if you can believe that. Val, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Val. I'm a current junior here at Skidmore. I'm majoring in health and human physiological sciences with a double minor in dance and biology. I'm on the pre-physical therapy track, so I'll be applying to PT school this upcoming summer actually. Outside of working here in admissions, I TA in an organic chemistry lab. I am on the polo team, so no horses and all. And I work in a research lab with one of our human physiology professors. I do cardiovascular health research, and we look at blood pressure and how different spices affect it. So that's really exciting. I'm also staying over the summer with said professor, so we're gonna keep doing that research. And I also did an internship for PT school last semester. It was an internship for credit through Skidmore.
Well, again, thank you both so much for being here. So I want to get into the questions that I want to ask both of you. So question number one, at Skidmore, we believe that creative thought matters. That is our motto here. It informs everything we do and is a huge distinction for us at Skidmore. We created this series to help prospective students and their families understand this difference. So my question to you is, how did creative thought matters influence your experience at Skidmore or current experience at Skidmore for you, Val? And how did it influence and prepare you for what you're currently doing? One of you wants to start.
I can start. I think that when they say creative thought matters, I think it is like it's field blind, meaning that there's like creativity throughout all of research and throughout all departments. And I think that's what makes Skidmore so special. Like if you have an idea for a research project, you can just pitch it to your professor and then you can work with them and get that like idea like into research it, and then you can actually get published, which I think is pretty cool. I had a friend who wanted to do research on his sourdough starter, so he reached out to a professor who does microbiology, and they've been working together for I think a year and a half now, and he is in the process of publishing a paper about sourdough starters and just like the composition of a sourdough starter. So genuinely anything you put your mind to, there's definitely going to be a professor to help you fuel your passions, which is just like how I think important that it's so like available to you in the classroom and outside the classroom with the professors.
Thank you so much, Val.
Excuse me. Yeah, I think broadly speaking, something that I perhaps did not appreciate back in the day when I was a college student, but something that I've really come to realize is that the skills that you gain in college, that I gained in college, both interpersonally and professionally and communication wise, and being able to advocate for yourself and just talk with another professor about X, Y, or Z. Those are skills that are really definitely going to carry forward whether you go into healthcare or not, but specifically in healthcare, I found that leaving Skidmore and going directly into a research lab, it was very much um, methodical, but the room for creative thought and development and project development with my PI, my primary investigator, um, gives you so many opportunities to kind of think outside of the box. And for medical school, I came into medical school and I was very dead set on doing pediatric hematology oncology. I had always very much had a fascination and an intellectual curiosity around cancer, and I thought that's what I was going to do. But I'm doing OB/GYN now, and I don't want to deal with GYN cancers. Um, so I'm essentially putting all of that cancer interest of mine aside for the obstetrics and the gynecology. But I've realized that, over the years, since I graduated, what, 6 years ago or something, um, more than anything, the skills that I learned in the classroom and as a tour guide and with my peers at Skidmore have really been what have allowed me to thrive and really be successful, whether I was doing oncology research or taking care of patients in the hospital. And I think being able to keep a really open mind and be open to and be like perceptive to what other people are experiencing and what they want to teach you is a really amazing skill set that I gained at Skidmore. In terms of like actually being creative, I mean, in the hospital, if you have a patient with sepsis, yeah, sure, you have to get creative about, where the source of the infection is. Um, but I plan on continuing research in my residency. I plan on going into maternal fetal medicine, which is very research heavy, and maintaining kind of those connections to creative thought and thinking outside of the box and really just envisioning a new future is something that I'm very grateful to have that in my kind of toolbox.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of love how you touched on, the flexibility you can get at Skidmore too. I mean, you might know coming into Skidmore, you definitely want to do the sciences and be on the pre-med track. But I feel like, of course, you can also take classes maybe in the arts, in political science, if you have other interests as well. If you want to be in student government, be in a cappella, you can do all of the things, but still, take those classes in the sciences, be on the pre-med track. So I think you definitely have that flexibility there and can get creative with your academics, which I think is a really great point. Thank you both. So my next question, the admissions team gets a lot of questions about how Skidmore prepares students for outcomes after their time at Skidmore. So what kind of tools did Skidmore equip you with that have allowed you to be successful in your life after college, I guess for Kasia, and for Val, what are some of the steps you're taking now to kind of help prepare you for life after Skidmore? Val, do you want to start?
Yeah, I can start. So definitely a big support is we have the Health Professions Advisory Committee. So if you decide that you want to be on the pre-health track, you get assigned an advisor and then you can pick an advisor to be your HPAC person. So I picked my professor that I know very well, the one who actually gave me like a tour of the department when I was visiting and deciding on if I want to go to Skidmore. And he is he sets my head straight when I get super I'm just like, oh, what about this? And I start throwing ideas at him. He's like, take it easy, it's okay. And he's been the support team that they offer advice, but they also calm down your anxieties a lot, really center especially for me, it centers me. And one of my other advisors who used to be a physical therapist is also really helping me with this. And just again, it really stems from the professors and their passions. And they all want to support you and they all want to see you succeed. So that was definitely a big part. Then I worked with the Career Development Center to get an internship for physical therapy, which I think also helped prepare me, which again was absolutely wonderful. So it's just having all these opportunities just be given to you, and you just taking them is definitely a big play. Right now I'm working on my application to PT school. I'm working to get on the app and stuff. And I've been talking to my professor, I don't know what I'm doing. Does this look right? So she's when we both have more time, let's sit down and walk through it. So we're going to walk through the application together, which is again super helpful. So anything from internships to the application process, like everyone is there for you here at Skidmore. So
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks, Val.
My little soapbox that I've taken from college and I've used to kind of preach to other people that have been in my surroundings, like other people who are either in labs or in medical schools. I honest to God think that going to a small liberal arts college for sciences is the greatest thing you can do for yourself. I will die on that hill. I honest to God believe that because between my I think it was between my junior and senior year, I was doing research at in Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston, and there was another research student who was at one of the Boston schools doing internships, and we were kind of talking and comparing what our organic chemistry education was like. And the student was telling me how his orgo class was like 250 students and they just did multiple choice things and he had never drawn like a reaction and like electron pushing. And I was like, how did you do an organic chemistry class without pushing some electrons? I didn't understand it. He didn't understand, or I bless his heart, he didn't really understand organic chemistry after that class. And I really think that the curriculum, excuse me, that I've received at Skidmore not only like really challenged me academically and pushed me, but gave me an amazing skill set, and gave me a really like amazing base of knowledge so that I could have gone into any type of research. Like I chose to go into cancer research. I could have done anything afterwards though if I had wanted to branch out. I also so academic wise, I think having that small classroom, being able to go to your professors in between classes or on office hours and just talk about like a single reaction or a single question that you had on a previous exam. Those opportunities are priceless. They really are priceless, and I'm incredibly grateful for them. I also think that excuse me, that's something that Skidmore that I didn't realize at the time was teaching me was how to use your own voice and speak out in a classroom. Again, you go to these large institutions and the chances that you speak out and answer a question in a classroom where you get challenged or you get asked to present something pretty slim. But learning those skills on how to stand up and say, this is X, Y, or Z, this is what I'm saying, this is what, and like be able to respond to questions for that is a skill set that once you go into the real world and you're getting a job in healthcare, you're in graduate school, you're working in the lab, those are skills that not everyone has. You can tell when they don't have them. And when you do have them, you instantly shoot to the top of the list. So you instantly become someone that people want to work with. And again, it's another really amazing skill that I think I gained from having that small education environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally echo that. I don't think I mentioned earlier, I'm also an alum. I graduated a few years ago as well. And I wasn't specifically in, pre-med, the sciences. I was more so in like the arts and humanities, but I think a very, similar experience that all Skidmore students have, regardless of their majors or minors, is you have those small class sizes and you're really able to build those relationships with your professors and, just chat with them one-on-one. Again, kind of what you were saying, Kasia, kind of go to them if you, want some extra help with anything, want their feedback on any research that you might be working on. So I think it is such a valuable thing that every single Skidmore student can definitely take away from, which I think is awesome. So my next question, you're both doing really, really amazing things. And, that might be a little intimidating to some of the students that are here tonight. But imagine your 17-year-old self doing the college search and dreaming of the future. What kind of advice would you give to your former self to get you to where you are today? Cassie, do you want to start this time?
Yeah, sure, I can start.
Yeah.
Um, Well, little Cassia, when she was 17, was a hot mess express. I promise you. When I was leaving high school, I was a little ball of anxiety. I was terrified about college. I was kind of afraid of my own shadow, honestly. I've done a lot of growth since then, a lot of development. But I think something that really kind of saved me and that like got me kind of going on the right track was being terrified and being okay with that and saying, I'm gonna go to this alumni event. Or I'm gonna go and apply to be a tour guide. Like doing things outside of your comfort zone. When I told my mom that I applied to be a tour guide at Skidmore College, she said, "Really?" But I think it was a really great choice for me, a really great opportunity for me to be uncomfortable and be nervous, but grow during that because I think like if I hadn't done that, I might still be a little bit more of like an introvert. But now I walk around the hospital, I'm like yelling to nurses and to doctors and to patients. And I feel really like confident and good in my skin because I've done so much growth since starting college. So I think, being okay with the uncomfortable moments and being afraid to go to an event or go to a new club, like for a skill that you didn't know you wanted to do. Like you want to join karaoke or whatever. I can't sing for the life of me, but just do it. Do it. Do things that make you uncomfortable because I think you get really, really amazing growth in those moments.
Absolutely. Val?
I completely agree with you. Like when I was 17, I like was did not speak to anyone. I was known as like the quiet one. If I like said something to someone, they'd be like, "Oh my God, you can speak." Like I was super quiet, like an introvert, like could never see me at any social events. I like was like super like I just like had my little group of people and that's it. And then I came to college and I applied to be a tour guide, which genuinely changed like as like dramatic as it sounds, it genuinely changed like the trajectory of my life. And it like I started talking so much and now I just can't stop talking. But it's a good thing because it's made me more social and made me more like confident in my public speaking and just made me more, and like the connections that I've built here because I can't stop talking have been like absolutely amazing. And like again, like I have this job to thank that for. But just like saying yes to things that you didn't know you want to do, just like what Kasia said, like just like being comfortable with the uncomfortable and say yes to like hanging out with this person that you don't know, like, it might be fun. Say yes to like a thing that you didn't know you wanted to do. Like I never rode a horse before I got to Skidmore. And I was like, oh, like I don't know if I want to do this because I've never like ridden a horse. And my friends were like, come on, just like come to this like open ride thing with us and just like have fun, get on a horse, get like a pony ride. And I was like, fine, I guess I'll go. And I was like kind of like reluctant, but I'm so glad I went because now I'm like obsessed and I'm on the team now and just saying yes to things will like broaden your experience here and would just like I'm again so grateful that like I made like the bold choices that I did because the person I was at 17 and the person I am now are just like two completely different people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree. I think looking back on my experience too, I wish I even stepped outside my comfort zone a little more. That's something that we really encourage at Skidmore. We want you to try new things. Of course, if you come in knowing exactly what you want to do, the clubs you want to be in, that's great. But again, maybe you want to try ultimate frisbee or like Val, be on the polo team. That is super, super encouraged. So thanks so much for bringing that up. I'm also curious too for the both of you, when did you know you wanted to do STEM or healthcare? Was there a moment that affirmed that choice for both of you?
I honestly have never imagined any other career for myself. I said, if I hadn't gotten into medical school on the first try, I was just going to be a farmer in Vermont. And now, however many years later, if I don't match into a residency, I'm just going to be a farmer in Vermont because there's only really ever been one option for me. I've always wanted to be a doctor. And people are like, "Oh, really? Like, why?" But my eighth grade year, I'm like a weird kid, but my eighth grade yearbook at my Catholic school in Cambridge, Mass. Uh, our superlatives were like what you wanted to be when you grew up, and I said pediatric oncologist when in eighth grade, which was I'm just like kind of very special. I was a special kid. Um, but all kidding aside, like I think some people they really, really want to do medicine or they want to be in healthcare and they want to help people, but then they get to it and they realize, oh, maybe I want to do something different in the field. For instance, my cousin, she was studying for the MCAT. She decided not to go to medical school. She's going to apply to PA school instead. There are so many options like within the realm of healthcare. And I think Skidmore has been really great in that from an early time, like once I expressed my interest of STEM and healthcare and got involved with the HPAC committee, the opportunities to work with other Skidmore alumni, to shadow, to visit, to kind of connect with them are really, they're super vast. So you can start kind of exploring what you think you might want to do from like day one.
Yeah, I'm like also it's funny that you mentioned the Vermont farmer because my plan if I didn't get into PT school was move out west and become a rancher and just like ignore the world. So I understand where you're coming from, but I knew that I wanted to do STEM also like from like as like so early on. I didn't know what in STEM I wanted to do. I was debating vet at first, and then I was thinking doctor, and then I was like, I don't know, and I was like kind of like floating around in high school. I shadowed a friend of a friend, like a family friend who's a physical therapist, and I was like, oh my God. I kind of vibe with this. And I was like, let me try this PT thing. And then I've been taking classes. And then actually last October, I was talking to my research professor, and he was talking about going into like ultrasound things. I was like, oh, I actually really, because we are taught how to use an ultrasound for my research. So I was like, I find this really interesting, and maybe I want to do something with that. So I had a little career crisis last semester, but then I went to my internship and I was shadowing the clinical director, and I saw a patient who I saw maybe like a month beforehand, and seeing the improvement and seeing like the environment made me like not question anything. And every like single time, like when I'm taking physics, I'm like, why do I need to know electricity for these things? I'm just like, okay, wait, but just like think about like that experience that you had at your internship and think about how much like warmth it brought you, just like seeing like how much of a supportive community that that like place was, and just like the progress and like just like the joy like in everyone's eyes. I like think back to it every single time I ever have like a doubt when physics is pissing me off. So I'm very grateful to like have the experience that I do. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you both. And I just have one more question for both of you. So, what role do you think liberal arts graduates play in shaping the future of healthcare? How is that experience unique to Skidmore and fellow alums that you know in the field?
I will say, I think that when you are in healthcare and you're in hospitals or outpatient settings, there tend to be two types, and this is a generalization, but there tend to be two types of people working there. The ones that are like robots and they do X, Y, or Z, they order X, Y, or Z, they follow this protocol and they don't really consider the rest of the patient or the situation. And UMass Medical School is in Worcester, Massachusetts, which is about an hour west of Boston. And our patient population is incredibly diverse. End up using an interpreter for like 10 different languages in a single day. There are people who have no insurance, some insurance, something in between. So they're a very diverse patient population. And I have found that I either work with people I really like who see patients as a whole package and they view wellness, both physical, mental, and spiritual wellness, as like compatible together. And then there are people who are they're just there to get the job done and click the lab values and check the box and send the patient to the next place. And I think one thing that is really special about a liberal arts education is that while you are while I'm taking neuroscience classes, I was also taking a seminar on poetry, and I was taking a class um on Islam, and I was taking a dance class as well because that was a requirement. And so my experience going into a hospital, I bring so much more than someone who has done, the cookie cutter mold. And you get to learn so much more from other people when, you know, when you get those chances. So I think a liberal arts education and people who work in healthcare who have had a liberal arts education tend to be more fun people. They tend to be people who can talk about more things, who are more interesting and have passion. But that's just my experience.
Thanks, Cassia.
I completely agree with you. I feel like just being at Skidmore and like taking all these credits, whether for fun or for requirements, will like make you a better like conversationalist, one, and two will like make you like more aware of your surroundings, and like especially with healthcare, just like being able to like know what's happening in the world, and just like knowing more things outside of just the sciences, I think is super super important. And like I'm taking a religious studies course now. Never thought I'd take a religious studies course, but I'm in one now, and it's about indigenous freedoms, and it's very cool. And just like I just feel like when like, especially talking to people in class, being like, yeah, like I'm pre-physical therapy, they're like, oh wow, and then like we like start talking about things, and they start like sharing their perspectives. And a lot of our classes are discussion based, but more so are like religious studies classes. So just like hearing perspectives from other students and them sharing their stories will allow me to understand more about them and about different people. So just like knowing and sympathizing and understanding will also, I think, make people better healthcare professionals as well.
Okay, that was so much more eloquent than the way I said it, but I totally agree.
No, you both did a wonderful job. Thank you both so much, and thank you for sharing those experiences with us.